This is the Authority Company podcast, conversations with leaders who are building our future. Hola, I am Joe Pardavila, and my guest today is Lintao Lu. LT's story starts in poverty during the Cultural Revolution and stretches across 4 countries, multiple industries, and decades of leadership. He rose from studying by a kerosene lamp to becoming a CTO, patent holder, and founder of a global industrial brand. He shares his story in his new book, In Through the Window, which centers on one idea: when the door is closed, find another way. LT, welcome to the show. How are you?
Very well, Joe.
Good to see you. And so I want to start by talking about the start, because many people always have tough backgrounds, but you grew up in a distinct time during the Cultural Revolution, during extreme poverty. And I think for Americans today, they can't even picture China that way. They see the Industrial Revolution that took place there, how it's become a superpower. Can you describe that childhood of yours and how that sort of motivated you to become the successful person you are today?
Yeah, Joe. People don't choose their both, right? And I was born in probably the one of the worst period in Chinese history. I was born 1960, and from 1959 to 1962, the so-called 3 years of Great Famine. Over 30 million. People put the different numbers, right? There over 30 million people died, starved to death. It's not that the core production is because the government gets everything. In some area you have the food, but all they are reserved, right, for the government official everything. But that's a terrible thing. And you think about this population is like 3 times of population of New Jersey, because New
Wow.
Jersey like 10 million. That was a very hard period for China. And shortly after that, right, from 1966 to 1976 is a so-called cultural revolution. 10 years period without education, and everything is mal, and people are really going mad at that period. The knowledge is a crime. So that's horrible period.
And so tell me about how you fell in love with education despite the fact that you were growing up in a world that was like no to education and learn this particular part of China and nothing else matters. How did you fall in love with education?
I think something's goes with family, and although my parents is illiterate, they did not go to any school, but my old brother, and he finished his primary school, and he's very bright student, but he needs to take care of family. He stopped at the primary school level, and he is ambitious, and he loves book, and so he is my example. And at the time, during the Cultural Revolution, a lot of books considered taboo. Right? You look at all these Chinese histories, anything on non-communist stance, right? Anything from Western world is definitely is prohibited, right? You
Yeah.
cannot read that. And so people really they hand copied the entire book. So imagine that, uh, people's hunger for the knowledge, right? That because it's you cannot find in the open market, because the control of government. Some book, you just cannot get that. So people just hand copy, like they are passed along secretly. And my brother, old brother, he's very good at that, and so he probably has the big influence for me as a child, right, to start reading the book and get a good student.
That's awesome. And so tell me about those first steps of you getting out of China to pursue this education, because obviously you weren't going to do it there. How did you start that journey, what were the first steps you had to take?
Yeah, I was very lucky, because during the Cultural Revolution, there's no higher education. Even the primary school, secondary school, the curriculum is all Communist Party, right? Marxist, Leninist, right? All these things. Mao Zedong stuff. Most is propaganda, all these things. after Mao's passed away, and then the Renaissance, or so to speak, the China opening up to the West and reform the communist system. And so then the 1997 is fourth year after 10 years of suspension for higher education. China started studied the college education. So I was very lucky. I was first batch of student get to college, and as a matter of fact, I was the first one. Not only in my family, I was first one in my village. Then I was very lucky, and that year's college education rate like 4.6% to be exact, right? Less than 5%. And then I get the overseas scholarship. That's even more difficult to get in. That year is the 1982. China stopped really sending, the best student to the Western countries with advanced economy to learn the science and the technology,
Mm.
to
And that
modern.
was for selfish reasons, right? Because they wanted to bring education back to China. So it's much like you've heard them do with Hollywood, where they brought in Hollywood to teach them how to make movies. And then they were like, okay, now we know how to make movies, so we'll take care of them here. That's sort of what the idea was. Like, let's send our best and brightest out so they could bring it back, correct?
Yes, that's definitely. I think it's and the leader, Deng Xiaoping. Right,
Yeah.
some of that probably familiar. He is a great leader, and he's still communist, right? And a party, and but he is take 180-degree from Mao. He's much more pragmatic. He is the actually he visited the U.S. During the Carter administration. And by the way, U.S. China, the 1972 Nixon went to China because even during the Cultural Revolution, right? China is a vast, country with a huge population, and historically, right, it used to be great economy. So China, after Cultural Revolution, is really completely, the economy, everything is completely destroyed, right? So there's no choice, I think, either for Communist Party or for China, right? And because the Cultural Revolution really destroyed everything, economy, political system, or you name it. So that is pretty much a selfish, Joe. You're right. Is a selfish consideration, and for even for the Chinese Communist Party to save the party, right? To save the government,
Yeah.
you need to get economy. You need to develop economy because at that time China is very very much backward. People, right? They follow the slogan propaganda, right?
Yeah.
They don't consider the science. The politics is everything. Politics trumps economy. So that's the things how Deng Xiaoping lead China, to really to come back from the ruin of
Yeah.
Cultural Revolution. And
Yeah, I
one
mean,
of
you
the
basically started from 0, right? There was 0, like, it was almost as if you could go back in time and have, like, the caveman be like, "Alright, caveman, now you're going to build a city with trains and cars and infrastructure." Like, it's hard to flip that switch, and so you needed to get all your folks educated, and you were one of those people that went out, but you didn't go back. You just kept going to school and educating yourself, getting a doctorate, and then you go on this incredible journey that leads you to becoming like this like rock star in the world of HVAC. Tell me how you stumbled into that career after leaving China, following your passion for education, and then stumbling into that world.
Yeah, this is the life is a many interesting, the turn. My journey, right, that from a very poor boy, right, in the countryside of China to now current, right. I'm an executive, I'm entrepreneur, and a leader in my industry, right, HVAC and the industrial vacuum. It's a long, long journey, right? This is it's imperfect journeys, really across geographically, right? Across China, and actually I went to France, that's Europe, right? I work in Singapore, and then obviously spend most time in US, and also that really that across right different cultures. Chinese culture and the Western culture is very much different. Particularly U.S., China, and the U.S. Right?
Right.
You see one is in one side of the earth, another in another side. They're diametrically different, different cultures, language, and also the system, and that when you really to climb the mountain, if you will, from very bottom of the mountain, right? I started as engineer, and then move up as engineering manager, and eventually get into executive levels. And then to start my own companies as entrepreneur. So that is it's a long process.
It's remarkable because if you think about it and you read your book, you were studying by a kerosene lamp. And I think for most Americans, the idea of studying by a lamp is like something in the 1800s. You were doing it in this past century, which for many people, it's hard to like wrap their brain around the fact that you're studying by a kerosene lamp and now you're a successful entrepreneur who's built businesses. It's pretty remarkable. And the core philosophy of the book is if the door is closed, go through the window. When did this first mindset show up in your life about you if the door's closed, and obviously in China, it was shut, it was stapled, it was it was glued, it was there was no way you were gonna open that door. How did you end up going through the window?
in my life, right, I encountered so many closed door, right, that, you talk about from rural to urban, right, that, in the day, from China to France, and so this system, right, is not really designed for somebody like me, and this is really I'm outsider. I always
Sure.
consider myself as underdog, right,
Underdog, yes.
underprivileged, right. That so I think this go through the window is really the this is a metaphor, right? That the door is really like a conventional path, right? And you have a straight forward advancement, recognition, and the all these things. But the window is an alternative path, and over my life, I realized that the door were not open equally for everyone. That way for someone privileged, and the door is open, and they get straight through, right? For some others, they have to wait, and they have to wait. Yet for others, they just have to find the alternative path. The door is locked. Go in through the window or through the crack, wherever you can get in. And so, really, I think one of my most vivid experience, right, to embody that spirit of going through the window is my first year in France. You talk about I very poor educated at that time, right? Because China very backward. That
Yeah.
is just the opening up. My language, I just learned the 3 month of French, and my math, everything's, in China is pretty decent, but with like in France, they work everything's in math, and so that 6 months I have to pass this DOR, or the diploma, the advanced study, everything in 6 months. And if I not finish that, I could end up sending back to China. So this is a very brutal period. I sleep like 2 to 3 hours a day, and I have to really study the notes, right? That during the night, everything's so that's the spirit, right? That not give up, just keep that going, and getting through the window, and that really saved me, and that's teach me a big lessons.
And for folks who are trying to, who have that door in their face and they can't get around it, they gotta go through it. Is there like a daily habit of being able to get you to get through that window? Is there something you did outside of the fact that unhealthily you didn't sleep much during those times, but were there daily habits that help you be able to make that leap through the window? Because obviously we're all speaking metaphorically, but because you can't just go through the window, there's a lot of steps that happen before you do that. Is there something, a habit or so, a hack what people like to use? Is there something that you've done that helped you through all of the windows you've gone through?
Really, it's all start with belief, with the dream. It sounds like fluffy, right? But it's real, right? That so it's with the belief, and this belief can bend reality, and that they're saying, right? If you believe it exists, if you don't believe, they don't. So this is with the belief, then you start form your character, right? Because seriously, the character is the belief tested and the passion. In the day, our system, I said that you look at my website is character create destiny. So belief, character, destiny, right? It's joy, it's inner strength that make the difference, right? The inner strength, this is something, the fortitude, right? That's keep you going. That's why you talk about character, right? That resilience, that resourcefulness, uh, perseverance, all these things, it's very real, right? You look this at the long term, right? You are not really look at the door. Oh, it's end of possibility. No, you just the door is closed, right? It's not end of possibility. It just means the path will be less visible. Probably where it just means you need more character, you need more endurance. So yeah, this is something that's one of reason why I want write this book, Joe. It's not about the LT success, and really it's more about, right, the message I really to get through. And it's all in my system, or my mindset. It's really about the dream, about the belief, it's about the hope, and the about the character and the destiny.
I love it. And you can read all about it in Through the Window on Forging Your Own Path to Success. His name is Lintao. His friends call him LT. Lintao Lu, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Very nice talking to you.
And that's going to do it for this episode. If you want to find out more information about LT and our other amazing authors, go to theauthoritycompany.com.